recap and reflections of session 55 of the Chronicles of Joth, which I entitled Nevin's Regret. Okay, now Jason couldn't make it, unfortunately, and we send speedy prayers and well wishes to him and his family. And hopefully he'll be back in the saddle soon with us. Now, the AP of session 54 wasn't recorded, unfortunately, as neither Jason or I could be there. But David did a masterful recap, which can be seen on his channel, and it's linked here in the community section here. And I'll put another link to it under here. But, and I believe that was entitled Around the Pond. Now, where they left off was where Jason's character, Lauren, had encouraged them to go investigate what happened to Trotter Fingersmith's father, Buckles, over in Brickett's Bottom. Now, you'll see inverted here on the map behind me, Brickett Bottom's there, but the characters start here at Stony Lonesome. So, I believe Theana was the only part of that original group. And when she wakes up, Lauren is gone. Theana's helmed by Justin. So she decides to follow up. You know, Lauren's already beat it. Maybe she can meet him there. She don't know what happened, but she's on the way there. She's lawful good after all. Anyway, she sets off and meets along the path George, played by John, and Hilda, NPC, his love, as well as my character, Nevin. They head over to Brickett's Bottom. By the time they get there, Nevin decides to go to the pub to dust off the traveler weariness and to reconnoiter what the situation is in town, maybe get a little gossip, because they know that they're looking for the sheriff too, you know, to get the skinny on what he may know as far as the loss of or the whereabouts of Buckles Fingersmith. Now, right beside the tavern, we see the Fingersmith Manor, and two war dogs, it seems, are laying low, staring at the door, you know, kowtowed, as it were, almost like they're waiting for something. We skirt around them and go to the tavern, though. And curiously, the tavern's been renamed. Theana takes note from, and possibly George too. I believe George was there previously at a certain time. Nevin had never been to Brickett's Bottom. But the tavern had been renamed from the Honey Pot Tavern to Hearthstone and Hive, I believe. Okay. So we went in to inquire, talk to the bar keep, and he gives us a skinny that, like 3 days ago, the sheriff entered with 3 hounds into the Fingersmith Manor, and 2 hounds came running out, the door slammed, and no one knew what happened to the sheriff. Of course, I think Theana and George inquired, why hasn't anyone gone in? And the locals looked at them like they were crazy. You know, we're not adventurers. Are you crazy? We're not going to go in there. And so, at this point in time, we decide to do that. You know, sheriff could be in there, whatnot. But Theana asked if there's a butcher shop nearby, which there is around the corner. So, goes in there and asks to get a little bit of treats for the dogs, is what she has in mind. So she does that, and they go around the front. Now, Nevin isn't going to be going anywhere, like, especially with the hounds, through the front door. So he goes around to the back and tries to peer through a window. And all he can discern is some toppled crockery, silverware, dishware, and he hears some skitterings inside, but he can't really see anything. Uh, he comes around the corner and sees Theana and George over there, and you know, feeding the dogs, which they do. The dogs are really, uh, as I said, kowtowed about the whole situation and fearful, but they're not going to leave, supposedly, their master, who's still inside. Uh, that being the sheriff. Now, they see bites all over the dogs from head to toe. And a lot of them don't go any further than the fur, just a surface area. Some of them go through. And what they can look at is there's like little circular bite marks with just like needle-like teeth all over. So these dogs have been bit up like crazy. And George decides to just do a frontal attack and just walk up to the door and see what's inside. So he goes up to the door, and Nevin around the corner, I tried to stop him to give him a forewarning of there's something inside skittering around, maybe various somethings. Anyway, he does. He opens the door, flings it open, and these small salamanders, as opposed to giant fire frost salamanders. It wasn't that variety, but it was small salamanders, and just crawling all over around the door, coming out and just beelining straight toward the dogs. They don't harass or trouble George, they just go around him. And the dogs take off running, and the salamanders in hot pursuit. Now, Theana tries to reach out and grab one. Unfortunately, it turns around and bites her in the hand. She flings it off, and it joins the rest of its mates in chasing after the dogs through the beehive and on across the field. All right. So Nevin's like, well, let the dogs have at them, and at least it's given us a free entry into the manor, and we can find out what's going on with the sheriff and Buckles. So we enter. They're looking around. Nevin starts straightening up all the returned crockery and everything as he is secretly pocketing any trinkets that he finds that may be of worth. But Theana and George notice a door or an opening, and they go in it further down into the cellar. It spirals down, and Nevin, in short order, catches up. After they enter the cellar, is 3 barrels to the right, and at the far end there is looks like it's a shovel and a pickaxe up against the wall, and there's been a lot of work in digging further out, right? So we go up to it and find that it continues on, and we follow. Now, it goes down about 25 foot or so and then veers off to the south. Course to the south about another 35, and it comes into an opening, a rough-hewn cave with stalagmites and stalactites, right? Now, George had commandeered a lantern from the Fingersmith Manor, and he was using that to peer around. And we looked down and saw 2 sets of tracks, halfling tracks, leading into the middle point. Well, both leading into the middle point. We followed that far. And one track leading further on to the wall. Now, this is when we notice in the walls are covered with webbing. Now, at this point, Nevin looks up to see what's above. And at that time, this sticky tendrils of thread come down and grasp hold of him and yank him up. Theana hurls a rock to ping one of the hanging assailants that is shooting this thread in our direction, which it does grasp her to. start to pull up, but not before she gets that one off. Now Nevin's trying to swing a little bit and do a pendulum because he's wanting to wrap that the side of the thread and maybe up against one of the stalactites and break him free, or maybe his weight before he gets up too far. But it keeps pulling him. He's ineffectual at that. When he gets up there, he gets bitten and takes a significant amount of damage. He starts to wrestle around to get his knife. Theana is almost up there too. Now, Nevin's yelling fire. George is directing Hilda because he gets snatched and he's dragging up too. He's got a lantern in his hand, but he's telling Hilda to light a torch, set something on fire. Now, as he goes up, he starts to swing, and then Nevin gets bit again. His eyes roll back, he shudders, and then goes stiff as a board, and then just drops or just hangs there like a rag doll. Now, George does get a swing, I believe, with the lantern. They do catch fire to the webbing, and it starts and envelops these creatures in the firelight. They see that they're like toad-like creatures, but they have 8 legs, and they screech and then scuttle off to the far wall and disappear in a hole. Now, George is falling, abruptly falling, and then Hilda runs in to try to save him, right, to catch her love. She believes she gets right underneath him, and then George is trying to direct this fall as much as possible, and he lands right beside her in a splat. Now, Theana's down, and she runs over to provide first aid and gets George up. He pops up in front of Hilda, and behind him, with a splat, lands Nevin, a fiery wreck of a pile of matter, for all intent and purposes. And they stand there and look off at the footprints that are heading toward the wall. And they feel a breeze come through. And the twin lights of the spider toads are off in the distance behind the webbing. But there's a breeze that is moving the webs like a curtain. And they know that they have to descend further. That is the recap. That's where we stopped. So next episode, it should be very interesting to delve down deeper into this situation. They did determine that the sheriff was in that cavern as well, I should say. They took note of him, and they know that Buckles is probably the other set of footprints. Now, I should say that in the cavern before, in the basement, there was a treasure that they noted, or a chest rather, and it ended up that there was no thieves' tools for Nevin to open, and George took his weapon, and with a good roll, he was able to crack open the chest, and we opened it up and found the Fingersmith fortune. Now, there was which Nevin just huddles over. He sees a scroll inside, fishes it out. He can't read, so he holds it up to Theana or George. Can either of you scholarly people read? George opens it up, and realizes that it is the Bucklesmith mead recipe for the mead that they sent through the portal of Joth, as well as all the local areas around Blackfish Bay. So he pockets that, even against Deanna's warning that we shouldn't, raise the ire of the fingersmiths or whatnot. This could bite us. But he pockets it. Now, he's also glaring down at Nevin, or she's also glaring down at Nevin. And well, when this happened, he says, "No, I'll just keep this, but George says, the rest of you can share my portion of the treasure." So Nevin's eager to agree to that, so he looks up expectantly, like, "Yes, the rest of us three can split this." And Deanna looks down at him, down her nose, and says, "No, we shouldn't touch this or raise the ire of the fingersmiths." And then he pleadingly looks up at Hilda to see what Hilda's saying. And she bites her lips because she wants it, but she decides not to go that route. So Nevin reluctantly shuts the top of the chest and pats it. And he's the last one to get up and leave and follow. So there was a question in his mind about whether he was doing the right thing or eventually not doing the right thing, because he could have taken it and left. It's the small choices that may lead to regret. So anyway, now I will say this game of Joth, it's been a while. It's been like a month or so since we've been back, and we've played a myriad of different character types, all of us. I think David actually is Lauren, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I am. Is the longest lived character in all of these Chronicles. David had similar success in we played Cimarron. I think he was the last character standing conscious in the wake of the great world-eating worm. But he used to be congratulated in my mind for playing sensibly. I know when you play character, you can play your attributes if they're a little bit of dollared or bold or whatnot. Their characteristics are determined by their by how you envision them based off their attributes. You can play that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But every character experiences fear or trepidation, or may have something that may stay their hand from doing something foolish, no matter how their wisdom score is or their intellect score is, or the timidity or boldness of their character. So, but he's to be commended. He's I said it once when David wasn't there playing. I said, I think we're all in for a boatload of trouble, and my character died that session. So it's always good to have him there. I think him and Jose likewise provide that kind of anchor for the party as we all satellite around. I would say Eloy too, in different games. However, this world of Joth and playing various characters in it, no matter how long-lived they are, how short of a piece of the story, it's their story inside of these Chronicles. With Nevin, he'd been picked up here in this area of Lake of Talons, and he ran with them for several sessions. And that moment when he had to decide what to do, his gut was telling him to take that gold and get. And he didn't want to delve deeper into somewhere where we just saw a horde of salamanders that he was leery of, and what would make War Dog kowtow or whatever. We saw the bones of the other War Dog inside, so it had been eaten like that. So he was very, very skeptical about that. But against his better judgment, he followed in suit. They ended up to being to his demise and detriment. But there's something live and living about the choices that you make in this game for the character, you know. But what he was up against, yeah. If it would have got too hot and heavy, he may have backed out of cowardice and left his comrades. If that situation arose, and taken the gold in retreat, you know. So you never know. A similar thing happened to Trotter, you know. At one point, I believe he was the only survivor of the Grudge Guardian encounter, you know, and he happened to get away with that, which set him up. So it's really a joy to explore these characters and find out where each of them ends, and in fact where they begin, you know, or where they may come in contact with the main party and branch off and go their own separate ways, as I've had a couple of characters do, you know. So it feels like a living, breathing, active world, you know, that Todd has really given to us by his imagination and his art. Brings you in. It brings you in, you know, the way he sets up. And I love his random rolls to find out what's going to happen at any point in time. He doesn't really know. So even the GM is using a little bit of the world's own randomized agency to affect all of us, you know. And all the guys that we play with in the group really lend and add character to the whole world. You know, all these characters and all the people that we play with. Anyway, I'm very thankful for it. You know, it's been several years of it, and I don't tire of it. All right, what are you thankful for? See you next time.